My mouse wasn't working. What the hell? I'm always on deck. Peace, peace. I hope everything is okay. Everything is working. Things look a little janky on my end. If y'all having any issues, let me know from the viewer side in the comments. Holla at your boy. Let me know if y'all having any issues. Shit don't look quite right on my end, but what do I know, right? Good. Good looking out. The moderator with the most from coast to coast. Anyway, welcome to the BroDiallo broadcast. I've missed y'all. I haven't really missed y'all because I have been on deck, even though I've been traveling. You know, I have to say this every time. The sovereign citizen, more scientists have ruined the word travel for me. Every time I say the word traveling, I think about their nonsensical rhetoric. Like they have, that's what I thought. Don't lie to me, make it sound fly to me. It does look glitchy. See, it's not smooth. But at least the sound is good. Y'all not here to look at me. What did Shayun say? She's here for my... Wait, she's not here for my looks. She's here for my books. Y'all ain't here for my looks. Y'all here for the books. So I guess it don't matter if the shit is moving all robotic and shit. What do y'all want from me? Anyway, had a lot, man. You know, I've been coast to coast, grinding it out. Doing things, linens and things, you know, just doing things. And but I've tried to when available where I am. If I got internet and I got a place I could set up, you know, I try to still keep up with the schedule. Sometimes the schedule's a little off and all that, but I hope that y'all appreciate that, you know. And then in about a week and a few days, I got another trip. So I'm going to be moving, but I'm going to build. I got a team now. I got, you know, James is on deck, and Geechee, who's promised James on air to set him up with a proper mic and camera. If not, man, we got to get together this week. So, you know, we can try to get you a setup. You know, I know you, James, you're scared to come to the south side of Chicago. So I'll come up to the north, nice white neighborhoods where you are, and see if we can get you set up properly, James. And if you do get a courage up to come to the south side of Chicago, I will guarantee your protection. Okay? So, you know, let's get him set up properly. Guy Geechee, of course, got Skip Coon on deck. Don't put the cry emoji up. I know you scared. See, that's the crying or screaming emoji. Don't scream and cry, man. I said you'd be all right if you come to the south. So anyway, I've had an interesting and exciting past couple of weeks. I don't know if y'all follow me on the other socials, but I do have a life. So I think some people, the way they talk to me, they think when I'm not broadcasting, I just sit like this. And then the next time it's time for me to come on, I turn on the camera and I talk, and I turn the camera off and I sit. That's how some people interact with me. Because I'll say something like, all you do is talk. You just talking, woo, woo, woo. I ain't with all that talking and all that. And I do have a life a little bit beyond. So anyway, if you've been following me back when I was on Black Liberation Media and we did our Baltimore show, and I was asking about a wire tour to go to the Baltimore sites because I love The Wire. I watch The Wire a couple of times a year at least since I first saw it. And everybody was making fun of me. Everybody was laughing, joking, and saying, you know, that's some lame shit. That's some white dude shit, wanting to go on a Wire tour and all that. And then I think Geechee was like, you want to go see some hardship, man? I could show you some hardship. And I told him I don't want to see real hardship. I want to see the fictional hardship. I can't deal with real hardship. And so anyway, long story short, people made fun of me. I went and saw some sites and some areas from the movie, and everybody was making fun of me. So in this past week, I was in New York doing some work with OK Africa And they wonderful staff there. Shout out to Trav, Bianca, Compton, everybody there. I'm not about to start naming people because that's where you fuck up. Keep your shit umbrella. Keep it broad. Because as soon as you start specifying, then there's a whole list. But I met some wonderful people there. Brilliant, talented, beautiful, stylish people, man. Generous people. And anyway, while we were one evening, we were off work, and Sheung, he comes to me and was like, "Get your old ass up. Get your old ass up. We're going somewhere. We're going." No, he called me because I was in Brooklyn. He was in the city in Manhattan. So anyway, we show up to this wine party, and I walk in, and I'm walking around, and I think I told the story already. And then Sheung comes up to me and is like, "Come over here, come over here." And he takes me over to this brother sitting in the seat having a conversation with this nuts brother. He's sitting sideways talking. And then he taps that guy on the shoulder. The guy looks up, and it's Banga. Banga is Chris Partlow, the henchman, the savage from The Wire. And I'm like, yo, oh my goodness. You know, and I got to meet him in person. And then, but it's a bad, this story has a really bad outcome, actually. And so I meet him, we chop it up over the night, and he's telling me about his work on the continent, Kenya and Congo, Nigeria, and he's doing this justice. Just a great brother, brilliant, articulate. And we had one little tiff where we didn't agree about the definition of hope, but beyond that, a wonderful evening. And then probably the next day or the 2 days after that, I wake up. My wife had come down, and we're in Brooklyn, and I'm like, hey, let's go get us some pumpernickel bagel with tofu cream cheese and go to Hungry Ghost on 7th Avenue to get some oatmeal lattes. So we head out the house. We go to Brooklyn. We're staying downtown Brooklyn. It's not too far. And I'm walking up towards the shop, and I see this brother, and I'm like, that ain't that brother. That ain't that dude. No way. I see him. He's clearly that dude, but I'm like, that's not that dude. I just want to allow myself to accept that that's that dude. So I walk in, get in line, and the dude in front of me is like, yeah, you know, he's like, yo, and them bagels, those fresh bagels, right? You know, how the muffins? What the muffins? And I'm like, shit, it was fucking Marlo. Marlo from The fucking Wire was standing directly the blood clot in front of me in some random, not random, because it's my favorite, La Bagel, my favorite bagel spot on 7th Avenue. And I know the New York City rules. The New York City rules is you don't fucking bother the celebrities. It's like New York City and Los Angeles are like habitats, like sanctuaries for celebrities. Celebrities can walk up and down the street. Nobody pay no fucking attention. The other day I was there. Spike Lee was walking shoulder to shoulder with some sister talking business. Nobody looked twice. One time I was in Harlem with this wonderful sister. She's a PR agent now, but we were just kids. I was in college. And I saw Freddie Fox on 125th Street standing at this dude, talking to this dude in the window of his Jeep. And I'm like, oh shit, Freddie Fox. And she's like, no, don't you go bother him. Don't go say shit to Freddie Fox, the bumpy nuts. Don't you say shit to him, and don't be bothering celebrities. So New York, Los Angeles are like free range habitats for celebrities because nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. They come and go. Nobody bothers them. And I know that's the rules. I lived in New York. I've been to New York enough times to know better, but I couldn't help myself. And I apologize. I said, I know I ain't supposed to be bothering you. You're supposed to be able to get bagels. You in Brooklyn, you go get bagels. You turn cartwheels in the street. Nobody look twice at you. But I got to do this. And I was like, I just last night met Banga. I was at this Nigerian wine party, and I met Banga. And then I hate calling his name is Jamie, but I'm gonna call him Marlo for this story. And so he's like, yeah, if it's Nigerian, Banga's gonna be there. And I told Banga because I saw Banga later at the Blue Note, and I said, you know what your boy Jamie said? He said, if it's Nigerian, you're gonna be there. And then he was like, I love my people. What do you expect? I expected him to get mad. That's what I was trying to create some tension. But then I meet him. I was like, you know, I hate bothering you, man. I know I'm not supposed to do this, but dude, freaking love that. I know you hear this shit, been hearing this shit for 2 decades, but man, listen. And then he was like, oh, you know, if Banger was cool and took a picture, I gotta let. So I took a picture with Marlo, and then guess what Marlo did? Nicest fucking guy. He was like, y'all love The Wire? My wife was there too. She's like, you love The Wire? He's like, check it out. I'm gonna get Snoop on the live. He took out his phone to call Snoop from The Wire so that she could FaceTime with us just to say hi. And I'm like, oh, but she didn't answer. She was indisposed. So he called. She didn't answer. He left a message. So that didn't happen. And that was it. But here's what's fucked up. Here's the moral of the story. You know, they say don't meet your heroes, right? They say don't meet your heroes. These brothers are level, kind, articulate. You know, I didn't really get to chop it up with Marlo or Jamie, but I got to talk with Banger throughout the night. Long conversation. Brightest, really smart, pro-black, conscious. And I'm like, I can't fucking watch The Wire no more. They've ruined the fucking Wire for me. They've ruined it. I was expecting, and I don't know, I know I'm too old for this type of groupie bullshit. And like Ice-T said, I hate male groupies. I know these brothers hate male groupies, but them brothers ruined The Wire for me. Way too kind, way too down to earth, way too articulate. Just everything I didn't need them to be. So that's it. Ruined The Wire for myself. That's what I flew too close to the sun, and my wings have melted. And now when I look at The Wire, I'm be like, man, you know, Marlo would never kill some random security guard. He would never take out some random dude. He would never order a hit. So Jamie got a lot of heart, man. He loves the people. I'm like, you know, I think Banger would beat the shit out of an abuser. But I don't think he'd be just throwing people up in the vacants willy-nilly like that. And he would have never shot Prop Joe from behind like that. That's all I'm going to be thinking whenever. I'm going to still watch The Wire. But now that I've flown too close to the sun, I met these brothers. And I know, but that does speak to their acting. Because them brothers was some villains, man. Like, hella villainous. And so they were purely acting. Except for one thing. Marlo and Jamie got the same voice. So imagine Marlo in front of you like, it's good to meet you. Like, I can't do Marlo too. It's good to meet you. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, let's take a picture, brother. It's good to meet you. No, it's no problem. I'm here, you know. Yeah, toast my bagel. Double toast my bagel. This dude, him and Marlo got the same voice, but completely different personalities. But that's how he talks. And you know how people his mouth don't, yeah. Like, oh shit. That shit was ill. And so then Banger told me about this other show, The Old Man, which I haven't seen. So I'm going to go watch The Old Man. There it is. What is it on? Oh, it's on Hulu. Okay. He told me to go watch that because he was in that. And so I'm going to go watch The Old Man. But that's that. I don't know. But y'all didn't tune in. Like I said, y'all not here for my looks. Y'all don't care about my life. So, but I was just really excited. I've been telling this story to everybody. People been ducking me since I got back to Chicago because they don't want me to recount this story again. That's fucking crazy, right? Just meet one dude and then just instantly, you know, and Shayoon and my wife talking about the ancestors and all that, and it was meant to be. I know it was pure coincidence, but you know. But I digress. Shout out to OK Africa. Let me tell you something. This is the last time I'm gonna do this. This is it. Because I'm just hello. I got a call, y'all. Hold on. Hello. Hey, if it ain't what? Yeah, babe. Hey, let me tell you something, baby. Nah, just shut that down. I got this. All right, baby. All right. I just had to make a call on my Kit Kat phone. Stacks on stacks on stacks. You know, but I it's the wrong label ain't showing. They try to cancel my candy. I'll just stock up on it. I know right now my blood sugar is syrup, but hey, YOLO, motherfuckers. I'm living large. What you tell? I don't care. Let my blood sugar. You can't. Hey, my blood sugar is molasses, but I'm still living good. Kid, that's it. That's it. Now let's move on. I got here last night. I got back to town, and my wife and I, we were going to be gone because, if you've been following me, you know my travels. So we're like, we can't fucking drive our car to the airport. That would be hundreds of dollars. Like when we usually travel 3 days, 4 days the most, and we don't travel for leisure. We generally travel for work. So we could park the cars like $10, $15 a day. We park in the G lot, take the shuttle. But this time, couldn't park in the lot. So I was in New York first because I had to go there to do some setup and some work. And my wife had some things to do here. So she followed me. And she calls me like, I'm going to have Aromo drive me to the airport. And I'm like, I think the fuck not. I'm like, no, I don't think it's best. I don't know his driving skills. I don't trust him to drive you. Like, if he want to drive himself, if he want to drive his homie somewhere, I got nothing to say. But I don't think so. And so she was like, fine. And I'll have him drive me to the train, and then I'll take a lift from downtown or something. But anyway, we were coming back. And we were like, okay, what are we going to do? We don't have transportation. We don't want our son to come get us. So we decided we could take a lift. And I'm like, why don't we just take the blue line from O'Hare to downtown and then take a lift from downtown, save a few dollars. And then when we were going to get on, the guy just opened the gate and let us through. And I'm like, damn. And I'm like, why don't we just transfer? So anyway, we took the train all the way back. It was quite nice. And I think that's my new stilo. Instead of driving, I think I'm going to take the green line to transfer at the blue at Lake and Clark, and then head to O'Hare. Like I did when I was a student, when I was a young black youth. I think that's the new stilo. Shout out to everybody that's still taking the blue line. They're still taking the blue line to O'Hare because it's not that bad of a trip, right? Hell, Rip. Let me tell you something, Rip. Tell them how beautiful the L train is. Rip came and he rode the green line around downtown and was riding the train. His first time when he came to Chicago was beautiful. But anyway, okay, Rashi. Okay, I'll get to the topic. But before I get to the topic, I got to say something. Black men, sisters, log off. Sisters, get up and go tend to something. Go tend to something. Because I just want to talk to the brothers. Let's give the sisters a second to exit. Because I know these black women will be honest and they will, and we can trust their merits, and they will stop listening to give us a chance. Brothers, huddle in. So I saw this viral post. I know some of y'all saw it. Because when I'm traveling, I get to really just spaz out on social media, sitting in the airports and sitting on the train, traveling back from O'Hare. I was just scrolling. I didn't want to read. I just wanted to let my mind wander free. So I'm sitting there scrolling. I see this guy posted an image of him and his son. And then his BM, his baby mama, put in there, pay your child support. And then she posted screenshots of his child support report. Now, I've never paid a cent in child support, so I don't know what the terms are. But he owed over $100,000 in child support for 2 children, over $100,000. And so the guy took this post and he shared it because he wasn't ashamed. This woman tried to shame this black man, and the black man was like, boom, yeah, I put it out there. And not only did he share the screenshot of his over like 160,000, like on the steep end of 100 G's, big time money. Like fucking college tuition fucking type money. And he then posted a video that he took in a bedroom at the foot of the bed. And the video consisted of him panning across the foot of the bed, showing stacks and stacks of thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. And he's scanning, and then he puts in the thing, she will never see any of this money. I get money. Because he wanted the world to know that he wasn't broke. So he wasn't paying his child support because he was broke. He needed the world to know that he had a lot of fucking money at his disposal, that he had access to. Then he said, my son's 16 going on 17, and I haven't seen my son in 8 years. She won't let me see my son. And so he's not paying because he doesn't have access to his son. He's not paying because he broke, because he ain't got money like that. Because he was more concerned with the public, with the viewing public, the social media peeping toms. He was more concerned with people thinking he didn't have the money than he was with thinking he didn't have a relationship with his child. And, you know, it's dudes out there. It's weirdos everywhere. Freak skeezers and weirdos everywhere you go. So one freak skeezer weirdo does not, I don't lose sleep. But then I look in the comments and all these brothers are like digital high-fiving and validating it, saying, yeah, that's my experience. Whoop, 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 whoop. And whenever a sister came on there and said anything other than you the man, they dogpile on her. And so I'm thinking to myself, this is peculiar, because I've been around black men all my life. My father wasn't in my life, but I had 5 uncles. And and 3 of the 5 uncles really took it personal to be the father figures for me, especially one of my oldest uncles was really would be on my neck, like anything I did wrong, he was there. And my uncle Chris, and was main father figure. And I just used to be around dudes, barbershop, basketball. I wasn't into sports, but all other men things. I was really around brothers, and I would hear conversations amongst black men throughout my life, from childhood to old manhood that I'm in now. And I swear to you, I've heard black men brag about how much they pay for shit. I've heard black men brag about how much money they pay for haircut, how much money they pay for a pair of glasses, for a watch, for their car, for their home, for their shoes, for their socks. They even brag about how much they trick off on a woman. How much money they tricked off for one night, how much money they tricked off for one trip, how much money dudes bragging about paying for boob jobs. They jewelry. I've heard black men at various courses of my life brag about how money ain't a thing, how much money they tricked, how they made it rain at a strip club. I've even heard black men brag about how good they were at tithing, how consistent they were at tithing. Black men brag, and because, you know, my great uncle Keith and my uncle Carl, both ministers. I spend way more time in church than I ever want to or wanted to. And I've heard black men say, oh, y'all paying 10%. I pay 20%. And brag. I've heard black men brag about everything except one thing I never heard a black man brag about how much he spends on, and that's child support. I've never heard a black man say, nigga, how much you pay? Nigga, what? That's all you pay? You broke. Nigga, you ain't got it like I got it. I'm dropping 2 G's a child. 2 G's a child, 8 G's a month, and I don't even miss it. Like that. Boom. Keep my kids' baby mamas laced. Never once heard that flex. And now we got a guy on here. Child support is a dangerous tool. It can be used to punish and incarcerate if a father isn't working, blah, 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 blah. They've been locking black folks up for any and everything from day one. It's 1 million black men in jail. What percentage of those black men in prison right now are there for child support? And I don't hear brothers crying about legalizing drugs, decriminalizing homelessness. The only time you see some brothers become social justice warriors is when it's child support abuse. Every other government abuse, God damn it. Listen, I'm just telling you what I've observed. It's just peculiar to me. It's just peculiar to me. Now, I ain't never paid a dime in child support. and don't intend to ever have to pay no child support. So maybe I'm ignorant. But this dude, one sister came in the comments and was like, you got all that money. Why don't you go for visitation? Because I've seen, now brothers have told me, never spend a day in family court. I didn't want the government in my shit. I'm not even a good dude. I'm not a moral dude. I'm not a righteous dude. I'm what they call a Lara. A Lara stands for as low as reasonably achievable. So when it comes to the government, I have an Alara policy. I want as little interaction with the government, especially the enforcement wing of the government, as possible. I don't want to interact with the meter maid. I don't want to interact with the local cop. And there are some government bureaucrats. I don't mind mailmen and mailwomen. They the feds. I don't mind mail carriers. I don't mind, believe it or not, the DMV folks. For some reason, the DMV out on 95th and King Drive out there by Chicago, CSU, Chicago State University, the kindest, most accommodating DMV. I've been in DMVs in Missouri, Kansas, New York. I think that was the only place that I've had licenses. But the for some reason, if you live in Chicago, if you live in Jackson, in what county is this? Cook County. Go to 95th Street for all your fucking ID. You need passport for. Go to that. They are so accommodating. I don't understand why. I don't know what they putting in the water at that particular DMV. So DMV folks, I don't mind so much. But when it comes to most people on the government payroll, I just try to interact with them as little as possible. Family court, I don't want to go to no court. I don't want to go housing court. I don't want to go to criminal court. I don't want to go to civil court. I don't go. So I'm not really a good guy. I'm not this righteous man, a stand-up guy. I just was like, man, works it out and raise my kids my damn self, or have some fucking government official all up in my grill. And I chose the prior. So I admit I'm from the outside looking in. I'm from the outside looking in on this situation. I'm just telling you what I hear, what I observe. I'm purely outside. Now, brothers come and tell me I don't understand. But I know one brother, he got divorced, had joint custody of his kids, and didn't have to pay nothing. He kept the kids half the time. She kept the kids half the time, and nobody had to give nobody nothing. And then it turns out he wasn't coming to get the kids. He just left the kids with his ex-wife the whole time. He didn't come get on his days. He didn't pick up, drop off. He just went into, but because the paperwork said he's providing 50% of shelter, 50% of care, and they were on his insurance, he didn't have to pay nothing. So the wife was like, listen, you got to come get the kids. I have some shit I need to do. I got to do, you're supposed to have them half the time. And anyway, long story short, she went back to the court and was like, listen, these are the circumstances. So they gave him like 2 different chances to say, listen, visitation. They threatened him to come get your kids, and long story short, they amended it, gave her primary custody, and thus he had to pay child support. Whoop, 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 whoop. And then he started weeping and moaning and wailing. But I know, and let me tell you a secret, that guy was a cop. So you want to say the system ain't fair to us? I agree. The system ain't fair. The only way a black man can get a fairness from the system is to avoid it, which was my policy. But beyond that, this shit is just weird to me. I think there is a vein of anti-blackness rooted in being compelled to give your money to a black child or a black woman, or a vein of sexism and misogyny. But I could be wrong. Like I said, you brothers suffering that plight. I like to sympathize. I try to be empathetic, but I see a lot of weird shit. I hear a lot of weird shit from over there. But Colin obviously knows. Voluntarily spending compared to court ordered. And let me tell you something about court ordered. I tried to fight a ticket that I didn't deserve to get, and I had to pay that ticket. We pay shit, you pay taxes. And even when you voluntarily buy fly shit, you voluntarily buy that fly ass car and trick it out, you still got to pay for it. And I think, when you voluntarily, consensually have intercourse, reproductive intercourse, I think that's when the voluntary shit ends and the mandates begin. But I also have to tell you something else. Well, shit. Let me leave it alone, because every time I start to get back in the man club, I get back in the man circle, I start asking questions, and I get ejected from the man circle. Now, I haven't been called gynocentric. I haven't been called closeted gay. I haven't been called those things in quite some time. So let me just leave it alone. Maybe let me just leave it alone. It's just peculiar to me. If just one rapper, if I could get one rapper, not just a regular, not like a conscious rapper, like in my day, an indie rapper back, if I could get Jay-Z, if Jay-Z ever got like a test and claimed one of them dudes that claim Jay, he they daddy, if it was one like aspirational mogul rapper that was like, I drop 50 G's on child support and don't flinch while you suckers is watching from the bench. Just one line, I tell you. Brothers are so fucking led around by the nose in this money hungry bullshit. Why is child support? If that shit, I think that would turn things around. Drop that line, drop that verse. Yeah, I digress. Let's get to the topic, because I don't have time. I like to go into Q&A, and if I keep talking, I'm gonna start telling y'all other stuff y'all didn't come to hear. But also, when I was in New York, there was a major protest, and here in Chicago was a huge protest against Donald Trump, MAGA, Doge, and the overall administration. We have a Congress. We have a judicial, legislative, and executive branch that are under the control of the MAGA movement, the right-wing Republican Party. And all of those branches have come under right-wing control through nefarious means, through anti-democratic manipulation of the political process. And so as a result of that, there is a burgeoning movement, well, a reignition, because that movement died down somewhat. And so as this movement was progressing, I was hearing from people I know personally and people I don't necessarily know, but I know they're plugged in politically and culturally. And they were saying that Black people should stay home for this day of protest. The hands-off protest is what they're calling it, but there's a larger MAGA resistance or Trump resistance movement, and a lot of MoveOn.org, Code Pink, and other progressive, liberal, and leftist groups that have come together to mount this opposition. And one guy went viral because he even came out and said, this movement is a setup. This movement, Black people shouldn't mind your business, Black people. This is not our fight. This is not our movement. Stay home. Don't join the protest. Now, I completely disagree with this. I'm just going to lead with that. I think that is the dumbest fucking assessment any person who claims to be politically aware, politically conscious, politically engaged can go. Now, I'm aware of the post-election release, where a lot of Black people, the vast majority, up in the largest voting bloc in the country that voted for Kamala, basically said, we're going to sit back and watch the world burn. And I didn't have any issue with that. You notice, if you follow my post-election shows, my post-election writing and commentary, I wasn't tripping. And I love those memes where the sisters were sitting on a rooftop, sipping tea, watching the whole country burn. Those are great memes. I love the whole fuck around and found out movement, where they are finding racist, reactionary, theocratic working class people or black people, black MAGA, black race traitors, and they're like, you fucked around and found out, and find how the current administration's policies are impacting people who supported the administration. And there's a whole body of work. There are articles, there are videos, there are TikToks, there are humorous memes, there are discussions and lectures all about fuck around and find out. All these people who voted MAGA and we will go for Donald Trump, and there are a lot coming out of the Arab community, the Arab American community in Detroit that was so aggressively anti-Democrat, anti-Kamala. And when they get news reports of the intensification of the U.S. and Israel's atrocities, where they're lamenting their support for the Trump administration. And then you have the Latin community in Miami, Southern Florida, the Latin community, we live for Donald Trump. And now they're catching the backlash. There's even some MAGA supporters who have had spouses and loved ones ousted. And there are even, the log cabin Republicans, some right-wing, ultra-conservative, gay, lesbian, transgender individuals. And so the fuck around and find out movement, community, meme, I was like, yeah, this is more than appropriate. But then the sip tea and watch the world burn, fuck around and found out has now morphed into the not our fight. Sit it out, sit at home. And this is just not accurate. It is not politically, strategically, tactically, historically accurate. First of all, African people have been in a perpetual state of struggle since Plymouth Rock fell on us, since the first African reached these shores in bondage. And I know, because there's a lot of smart folks out there, they're going to come back. The first Africans to reach this shore were not slaves. So I'm not talking about them. The first Africans to reach these shores in bondage is who I'm talking about. From then, African people have been in perpetual state of struggle. All our life in America, we've had to fight. There has never been a time in history of African people's presence in the Western Hemisphere, in North America, in the United States, where we were not obligated to struggle. There has never been a time, no matter how pernicious, no matter how vicious, where the weight of societal injustice and dysfunction did not fall heaviest upon our motherfucking shoulders. So anyone who is in saying that Black people are not obligated to fight is literally encouraging us to commit collective cultural suicide. This is our fight. And I got a little secret. Even if Kamala was elected with a landslide, even if the House of Representatives and Congress flipped blue, even if Biden had enough courage to expand the count on the Supreme Court and was able to appoint a liberal majority, even under that circumstances, we would still have to fucking fight. We fight under Democrats. We fight under Republicans. If there was there's been some fucking third party elected, Whig party, independent. Even if who I voted for and every time he ran in the primaries, even if Bernie Sanders won, we'd still have to fight. For the mayor of Chicago, the previous mayor, I did not like her one bit. The mayor before that, I hated his guts. This particular mayor, I have issues with his policies and how he's administering, but I voted for him without hesitation. And in the next mayoral election, I'll vote for him again if nobody better gets on the ticket without hesitation. But even under his administration, guess what I have to do? Motherfucking fight. There is no not our fight. As long as the U.S. empire under white hegemony and capitalism exists, we have to fight. Now, what we should be arguing is, how does this affect our strategy? How does going from a neoliberal administration, how does going from a neoliberal administration to a right-wing isolationist fascist administration, how does that impact our approach to the fight? How do we switch up our fight? Do we have to make new alliances? Do we have to employ different tools? Do we have to develop a different understanding? Do we have to cultivate or secure different tools? That's the fucking discussion. The discussion is not, this ain't our fight. And they were literally, people were sitting there talking about, this is for white people to fix. Name a fucking black problem that white folks ever fixed. Name a black issue that white folks ever solved for us. Now, you can name ones that they took credit for. We freed slavery. We gave you rights. Whoop, 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 whoop. You can name shit they took credit for. But I want to know. I'll sit here and wait. Even the good white folks. Even the good white folks. And I tell good white folks all the time, your job is to save your people. By humanizing your own culture and community, you're an ally to the world. You're not here to save us. I don't know how many good white folks, black folks got bumped, beat down. How many good, decent white folks have black folks put a battery in their back telling them they have privilege? White privilege is a myth. White privilege is a myth. Now, here's the reality of Trump. And I know white folks get annoying as hell, get annoying as fuck when they talk about this is the worst time in American history. He's the worst president ever, when we literally had presidents who didn't just own slaves, but raped children. I mean, Andrew Jackson. I mean, even let's say, okay, he's the worst. He's not even the worst president since slavery. Woodrow Wilson, who was the first scholarly president. Woodrow Wilson was the first professional politician. If you look at most presidents prior to Woodrow Wilson, they were strong men. They were men of industry, men of agricultural leisure class. Woodrow Wilson was the most, at that time, most highly educated, scholarly, philosophical, and he was racist as fuck and responsible for the deaths of millions, unapologetic. So even if you give white folks a pass on the slave-owning presidents and just talk about post-modern century modern presidents, Woodrow Wilson makes Trump look like fucking Howard Zinn or Noam Chomsky. So I know how annoying it is when you see white folks weeping and wailing and moaning and gnashing their teeth about Trump when black people been enduring the horrors that white folks are anticipating. Black people, we've been enduring, going through the shit white folks are saying, it's coming. If we keep this up, Trump's going to put us in camps. If we keep this up, we're all going to be poor. If we keep this up, the police will just pick us up off the street. All these white folks and these model minorities, Asian, Arab, Latinx, all these model East Indians, all these model minorities are screaming and crying and fearful of conditions that we dwell in every day and have been dwelling in for for generations. So I know how it is, black folks. I know how you sitting there and some black folks, they're like, gonna put us in camps. When the United States has the largest fucking prison population of any country in the fucking world. And black men make up less than 6% of the population, but over 50% of the prison population nationally. And there are certain regions where black men make up 2 to 3% of the population and like 80 fucking percent of the fucking, like in Louisiana, prison population. So I know what it's like. My father, I've had cousins, close personal friends do time in these fucking gulags, American gulags, to have a white person come to me, if we don't fight Trump, he's going to haul us away to prison camps. And I think to myself, I remember my man Bo and me and Sage and Knief, we pull up at a fucking, it's late at night, we're in this neighborhood we don't know, we pull up at a convenience store. And 5 black youths get out of the car, and it's a nice car. His mother bought him a really nice car. Rest in peace to Bo's mom. And he had a fairly decent car. We all pile out of the car, go into the convenience store. I get me some. I wasn't a vegan back then, but I got me some Reese's peanut butter cupcakes and a soda, and we buy a bunch of junk food, pile back into the car. And as we're pulling up, a fucking SWAT team descends on us. The fucking cracker that would work there pushed the alarm button before we even got through the door. He saw 5 black men pile the car. He pushed the alarm button. And so as a child, do you think they said, oh, oops? Do you think they should have went in and got the fucking gas station attendant for pushing a false alarm? But they stood there and harassed us, detained us, took our name, rank, and serial fucking number. So for a white, and this is back, Trump wasn't even a fucking reality TV star. His racism didn't extend beyond New York City. In fact, at that time, back in the early 90s, Trump was a darling of the liberals. He was at ballrooms dancing cheek to cheek with Hillary Clinton and donating millions of dollars to the Democratic National Convention and dressing up in drag with Giuliani. You don't believe me? Look that shit up. Trump was a fucking liberal. A big city, New York City, East Coast liberal back then. And so having gone through that shit all my fucking life, I remember when I was in college in New York and the cops used to love to give you citations for the minor shit, bike on the sidewalk, or being in a park, being at one of the public parks after 10 p.m. or some weird shit. And then you get this citation. So you got to take off work, take off school, go downtown and go to the court. And if you've ever been to the New York City court, that shit is a fucking nightmare. It's so many people. And then you stand in line for hours and then you go sit in this courtroom and you watch all these people get cycled through. Then you get up and they call your case and you come up with your paperwork. Don't know if you're going to get a fine or what. And then the judge will dismiss it without even looking at you. I got a trespassing charge and I got up there, took a whole fucking day, dismissed, just disrespectful shit. So when a white person comes to us and say, Trump has the police picking up people off the street. Trump has the police picking up street when kids end up in Rikers Island. Khalif Browder was in Rikers Island for 2 years, didn't commit a crime. And then got out and was so traumatized he committed suicide. So I know when white folks come to us and tell us about what Trump is doing. And literally remember that white man in the airport that was getting accosted and wrestled to the ground and hog-tied and choked. And he's like, you're treating me like a black person. And you know Cheech and Chong? Yes, kids go to Rikers. Rikers Island has a juvenile detention center. And they call it Gladiator School. So yes, children, minors who have not been convicted, who have just been detained or arrested or awaiting trial. I don't know if there's a female juvenile. I think there's Rose M. Singer Center. I worked at Rikers in the infirmary. I was an X-ray tech in the Rikers, because Rikers is so big, it has its own fucking hospital. Fully formed. They can do everything except major surgery there. And they have a lab there too, where they do, epidemiological studies. Like there's a separate little tent area. Looks like fucking something out of a sci-fi zombie movie, where they have this special tent area where they do medical experimentations on patients. I'm sorry, research. I'm sorry, not research, observation, whatever the fuck. So yes, Rikers Island should not exist in a just. There'd be no place like Pelican Bay or Rikers Island in a just, humane society. But I digress. Yes, your child can end up in Rikers. But I digress. Anyway, so when a white person comes to you and complains about what Trump is doing, which is shitty on their part, which is ignorant on their part, which makes you want to holler, makes you want to cuss them out. So their assessment of Trump and what they fear, or like I was saying, I wanted to say this before Books and Looks mentioned kids on Rikers. Also, yes, they loved it. That's called judicial certification. And so they can take someone as young as 14, depending on the charge, not the crime. We're talking about Rikers Island. It's not a place where you go when you've been convicted of a crime. Rikers Island is a place you go when you've been accused of a crime, not investigated, not convicted. You haven't been to trial. You haven't even pled guilty yet. They just warehouse you there until you're able to cycle through the system. Generally, once you're convicted, if you get a year or more sentence, they send you upstate. That's why they had Tupac there. They had, I saw Flavor Flav was in Rikers. Shit, I would see more celebrities in Rikers than I would see on the streets of New York. Shit is wild. And I got to meet Tupac when they brought him down for a tuberculosis screening. And they screened him for tuberculosis. And he had a PA and lateral chest x-ray. Man, he was pissed. I mean, like, he was a mean dude. But yeah, he was walking through that prison like he owned the place. But I digress. Cheech and Chong are coming back with another movie. Cheech and Chong. And I remember I used to want to love them Cheech and Chong movie, and my uncle wouldn't let me watch them. So Cheech of Cheech and Chong was talking about how he got detained or arrested once over some weed back when weed was illegal. And he was talking about how he was being strip searched and brutalized and manhandled. And he literally sat there with a straight face, this Asian man, and said, they were treating me like a nigger. And so most white folks that are part of the protest movement, their disposition, whether they say it or not, is if this keeps up, we'll all be niggas. Or Trump's trying to reduce us all to nigga status. And let me tell you something, black folks. I know it's very tempting for us to sit back and say, yeah, y'all get to taste it. Y'all get a taste of your own fucking medicine. But it's also like Professor Mackey said, white folks catch a cold, we catching the flu. So there's no condition or status of oppression that exempts black people. And they are not our teachers. We can even, I tell you, we can mock, we can ridicule, we can even take some level of pleasure in white people's self-inflicted wounds. Because 90% of the ills of this society, white folks are in a position to stop, reverse it, and they don't. They don't have the humanity or the intelligence to fix this fucking problem. By and large, what white folks, the best of the white folks, the good white folks, they delay and deflect. They create little pockets of escape. You know, there's been thousands of mass shooters in this country and only one Luigi. You know, or is it, I think it was who's the British bulldog? Churchill. What's his name? Winston Churchill. He said something about Americans. That as much as I hate this fucking racist piece of shit, Winston Churchill, racist piece of shit, he said something that was very astute. He said, when they were talking about the alliance power and the U.S. aiding the alliance and resistance of Hitler, he said you can always depend on Americans to do the right thing when all other options have been exhausted. You can always depend on America to do the right thing once all other options are exhausted. It's like, well, in other words, the United States, the majority, the power in this country will only do the right thing if they have no other fucking option. And sometimes death isn't even a deterrence, mutually assured destruction. But I digress. So anyway, any black person, prominent black person that is in the public sphere telling African people that this is not our fight, sit this one out, don't join protests, it's white folks' fault, let them fix it, is either an idiot or an agent. And you tell me which one said it, and I can tell you whether they're just an idiot or an agent. But what I do tell you, as we begin strategic in our approach, black people, we have to move from opposing neoliberalism and opposing the status quo to opposing fascism, overt racism. We went from not having any politicians of value to vote for to not having the vote at all. And I'm sorry to tell you, this is a regression. Things are getting worse. I really don't understand those people who are like, shit, ain't nothing changing. It ain't no different. I would tell you, we would still have to be in the streets if Kamala was elected. Kamala would continue mass incarceration. She would continue U.S. foreign policy, which is imperialistic extraction, oppression, subversion of the democratic sovereignty of Africa and other non-aligned nations. She would have, did I say she would continue mass incarceration? She would give lip service, unlike Trump, she would give lip service to the environment. She would go to the various environmental summits or send dignitaries there and make all these promises and still allowing multinational corporations and the military to destroy the planetary ecosystem. She would still seek to privatize public infrastructure. She would still impose unjust economic relations, forcing so-called developing nations to orient their economy towards accumulation and export as opposed to development and serving the needs of the people. She would still be an advocate for privatized healthcare. She would still be attacking the Cuban people in their revolution. She would still be seeking to subvert the Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela. She would still maintain the over 200 military bases, Okinawa. She would still be seeking to entrench and expand AFRICOM. She would still be working with the Western powers to undermine the Sahel. She would do all that shit. It's more than 200. Okay, I lost count. Whatever. But let me tell you something. There's 0 fucking foreign military bases in the United States, and there should be 0 U.S. military bases outside the fucking USA. So 2 bases is too many. But I digress. But I'm with you. It probably is more than 200. I stopped counting after 200. That's the number that Chalmers Johnson gave us before he died. Because I know it's more than two, because I mean, they just got the green zone in Iraq. The United States did not pull out of Iraq or Afghanistan. I love when the United States says it's pulling out of a country it has illegally invaded, they're just contracting. They're withdrawing to us. They're designated. The United States still has a military base on Cuba. When they say Cuba's such a threat, and Cuba is illegally occupied by the United States. And let Cuba come to South Florida and set up a dock for a dinghy. The United States would nuke them. Fucking insane. It's an insane nation. This is a fucking insane nation. Now that's a bit. Okay, let me see. Now I'm just got to check something. No, it's not 700. And I don't know if y'all, I'm talking about military bases. I'm not talking about outposts or encampments. I'm talking about bona fide U.S. military bases that qualify. So no. Unless y'all know about some now, and not counting black sites. Not counting black sites. I'm just going off the official numbers. Y'all might know more than me. And if you know more than me about this, don't be on social media telling about your secret knowledge. But I don't see 200. But anyway, whatever the number. Like I said, I'm talking about Chalmers Johnson in his book on Sorrows of Empire. That's where I get my number from. If y'all got a better source. Yeah, the Cato Institute says 750, but who the fuck listens to the Cato Institute? They are always caught lying. But whatever. Like I said, 2 is too many, but let's go with 700. You got any place besides the Cato Institute? Anyway, as I was saying, even if Kamala was in office, we would have to fight. Now, there are certain things we wouldn't have to fight. There's certain things, and certain guarantees under Kamala, or at least certain things that would be easier. Because when in all honesty, especially federal elections, but in many local and regional elections, you're really handpicking your opposition, which I don't think we should take for granted. I really don't think we should take for granted being able to handpick our opposition, or having the opportunity or chance to handpick who you want to fight. Because even though I would say Kamala is a horrendous choice, it's a bad choice. That's why nobody voted for her in the primary. And they snuck her in through the back door as VP and tried to, circumvent the democratic process by, just having her be a stand-in for Biden. I didn't support her in the primary or none of that, but all that's aside. That's all ancient history. But you have to ask yourself, as far as the Black community is, who's more vulnerable? Who do we have a greater opportunity of persuading, of securing concessions from, of undermining, subverting, deflecting, or defeating Trump or Kamala? I think the question is obvious. If you've been active in the political arena, the grassroots arena, if you've organized, which I have the misfortune of saying, I've done grassroots organizing, political organizing in campaigns in red states and blue states. And let me tell you, I fucking hate trying to do anything in red states in this country. And one of the reasons why the majority of white people are Republican, one of the reasons the majority of the people are fucking Republican is because they think that the minorities have too much sway, too much influence, and too much power in the Democratic Party. Now, we don't have power. In any definition, we do not have power. But we have been able to secure more concessions That wasn't always the case. There was a time where black people threw in with the Republicans. They were the party of Lincoln. They were the party of abolition. They were the party that was sympathetic to the Negro plight. They were the party that some of your heroes, from W.E.B. Du Bois to George Washington, I was about to say George Washington Carver. What's that other dude's name? We can be as separate as the finger and as strong as the fist. His name escapes me right now. He's one of the most, I got to do a whole show on him, and I can't even remember his name. Booker T. Washington. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. I mean, the name just popped out of my head. It's all this goddamn refined processed sugar. Booker T. Washington was supported by the Republican. There was a time where black people saw it in our interest to align ourselves with the Republican Party, to, if we were going to engage the political process, it would be through the Republican Party. And there was a slow transition. My great-grandfather, Sonics Bowie, was a Republican. He hated the Democrats. He saw them as the Dixiecrats, the party of the Confederacy, and he hated them. And so black people have never, as a whole, had faith in American politics. But we understood that when you're in fucking hostile waters, you either navigate and secure the ability to navigate those waters, or you drown. All right? So in the situation, if Kamala was elected and any black person came out and said, we got Kamala in office, we can put our heads up and we can relax because Kamala got our backs. Some motherfuckers was saying that shit under Obama. I had some of my own teachers, some of my own mentors come out and endorse Obama. Dr. Leonard Jeffries endorsed Obama. Minister Farrakhan gave an indirect, tacit endorsement of Obama. There were some good brothers and sisters, some of our scholars. Shout out to Marimba Ani. I remember all the smoke Marimba Ani was catching because she never fell for the Obama drama. Let me tell y'all something. Don't come at me with that Freemason, Masonic shit. That don't mean nothing. And I said it. We can go toe to toe with that too. But I digress. All I'm saying is, anybody that came out and said we can put our feet up and relax, the fight is over, we's done reached the promised land under Kamala, would be seen immediately as a goddamn fool, as a gullible goddamn fool. But people that come out and say we can sit out this Trump Nazi regime is seen as somebody who got shit figured out. It would be equally foolish. Okay, goddammit. I see that from the Cato Institute. Where outside of the Cato Institute, everybody tripping off this U.S. base because I said 200 bases. And so what if it's 200? What the fuck? Why is this still a thing? Why is the comment still going off on this? Okay. Now the World Beyond War and Anti-War says there's 900 military bases. I guess infinite bases. Oh, they have a more comprehensive. Wow, there's over 900. So you 750 people are wrong. And this has comprehensive global map, worldbeyondwar.org. So we was both wrong. Huh? We both lowballed the bases. Now we wrong together, all you. And I just put the link. But I don't fuck with the Cato Institute. When it comes to, you can't fuck the Cato Institute. Wow, we got an FBA in the house. What are you doing here? Yasara Al Revolutionary. I'm gonna have to open up. No, we can't say over 5. They say it's 900 bases. And I would believe them over the Cato Institute and Chalmers Johnson. Then why are you said Obama wasn't FBA. I'm not FBA. What difference does it make whether or not that is the dumbest distinction. That is the most irrelevant distinction. There is no such thing as an FBA. That is a fictional identity pulled out of Tariq Nasheed's rectum. Don't slather it all over your face. Oh, okay, good. Okay. Maybe I'm being hostile. But you did talk that Freemason stuff. Let me start talking to, because people say you talk to the chat and people that are listening but not watching. Like, who the hell are you talking to? You make me sound crazy. But I digress. All that to say is, okay. Oh, all right. Let me see. Listen, I'm a little rusty. I've been away. I've been traveling. I don't drive, I travel. So just as absurd as the people who did say we reached the promised land under Obama, there's no need to fight, or Kamala gonna fix it all, we don't need to fight, or people who say Trump, we ain't responsible, we didn't put Trump in office, it ain't our fight. All of them are wrong. The strategy under Kamala would have had to have been one of educating the community about the fact that she's promised to reinstitute women's reproductive rights. She would end the scapegoating and persecuting of LGBTQ plus people, because she would give more humane rhetoric to migrants and the plight of migrants and refugees. Because she would do all of that, it would be our role to clarify and to demonstrate to the people who are receptive to the democratic sugarcoating of neoliberal policies, and the fact that she would try to further entrench the Affordable Care Act, and people will say, hey, my insulin is still affordable. And the fact that she would go overseas and say, listen, she would go overseas and say, we're going to respect treaties and our treaty obligations and our international allies and partners for peace. And she would go to COP15. She would appoint a competent bureaucrat to be the ambassador to the UN. She would go there and continue to be an active part of NATO. And she would continue to and she would have rhetoric about an Israeli ceasefire, and would have rhetoric about protecting the freedom of. And so with a Kamala, educating our community on the reality that just because she is a woman and just because she's black, and I'm gonna call her black because y'all was playing that black shit until y'all pull and take away Obama's blackness. I'm gonna go ahead and give her blackness because y'all got mad specific on her. And I went and looked at every source. I looked at black sources, black historical and academic sites, and they were all like Obama first black president. And then here come a sister of mixed heritage. And I would say, even if she ain't black, she blacker than Obama. To me, black and East Indian is blacker than black and white. But I digress. This black woman in office. So under a Kamala administration or Kamala administration, if y'all keep talking that ADOS bullshit, I'm not nobody's fucking ADOS. So in order to be a descendant, and so somebody, Rio Jack, says she's not ADOS. So I got people talking this ADOS, so I'm going to come back to this. In order to descend for something, that thing would have to give birth to you, nurture you, cultivate you, and advance you. Anything that hinders, suppresses you and your development, that doesn't acknowledge your fucking humanity, you don't descend from that. Being an ancestor or a descendant, we descend from our ancestors that gave birth to us and helped us endure. God damn it. We didn't descend from no motherfucking slavery. We endured slavery. We survived slavery. We resisted slavery every step of the way. And to call ourselves descendants of slavery or descendants of slaves is disrespectful to these atrocities that our ancestors endured, goddammit. And I'm blocking all you, and I ain't dealing with none of you FBA, ADOS motherfuckers. It's the dumbest fucking ideology and identity and title I've ever fucking seen. It's the fucking worst. I would go with a patriotic Black American before I go with a fucking ADOS. They disrespecting you to your motherfucking face, and you only got to be somebody ignorant of history, ignorant of culture, ignorant and anti-Black as fuck to even allow somebody to call you a descendant of slavery. You go up to a Jewish person, and they say, I'm a Holocaust survivor. And you say to that Jewish, no, you're not a Holocaust survivor. You're a descendant of a Holocaust. You go to the Lakota Nation. And those people suffering under genocidal oppression in Native American reservation and say, you're a descendant of genocide. They say, no, I'm Lakota. I'm Cherokee. I'm Cree. They would never say I'm a descendant of genocide. You go to Palestine right now and say, hey, you're a descendant of Zionism. So get the fuck out of my fucking feed. Get the fuck out of everything. If you ADOS, fuck you. Stop asking me to do debate Yvette. That self-hating, tragic Negro. Tone, fuck him. Tariq, not shit. Fuck all of these ADOS con men. And the only good thing about these movements is that they are cons. They are playing and exploiting y'all, promising y'all a check. And they're going to play y'all and waste your time, and you deserve to have your time wasted for disrespecting our ancestors. We don't descend from atrocities. We endure. We overcome atrocities. That is not our identity. That is not our reality. But these motherfuckers will be anything but African. And I remember I was talking to my wife months ago. And I'm like, yeah, the American descendants of slavery. And she's like, no, the A is for African, not American. I'm like, where do you get that from? She's like, that's got to be. She's like, I've always assumed the A in ADOS is for African. I'm like, no. And she's like, please tell me. Please tell me. And I was like, I took her to the website. She refused to believe that these motherfuckers would call themselves American descendants of slavery. When you were slaved, you weren't even human. You didn't have citizenship. These atrocities. Can you imagine a victim of assault? I'm a descendant of rape. That shit pisses me the fuck off. And what really disgusts me is how popular and pervasive that shit is. Don't bring that shit to my feed. It'll get your ass blocked. And I put up with a lot of shit. I put up with a lot of bullshit in my feed. My general rule is, but I'm fucking fuck them motherfuckers. Some dude just came to me, oh, I just had a conference and I brought Yvette and I brought, bringing the trio of Negroes. Where's my phone? The world mocks and laughs at that shit. And I promise you, go to an Irishman and call him a descendant of Europe, of British colonies. And see if he don't hit you in the head with a bottle of Heineken. Fuck ADOS. And if you and fuck anybody that fucks with them, fuck ADOS, fuck FBA. It ain't our movement, want no part of it. They're financing, their support. Everything comes from the oppressor. Cut the check. Cut the bullshit. You got Conrad Royal. Rest in peace, Conrad Royal. You got Brother Samori, Bill Samori Grace. You got all these Pan-African revolutionary brothers who founded in Cobra, who founded the Black reparations movement and always tied Black reparations in America to African decolonization and Pan-African struggle. It was just one component of a larger global African liberation movement. And these fucking patriotic white capitalist isolationist motherfuckers that co-opted the reparations movement. And we letting shit pass. We giving motherfuckers a pass, man. Fuck that shit. And stop coming to me with that bullshit. And yeah, I made fun of Yvette's hairline. She should thank me because you saw. Go look at images of her before when that shit was a upside down U, when that shit was a hump. And you see she got that fucking, I shouldn't have helped her. I mean, since when? Everybody knows. A rapist has no legal claim to their victim or the offspring. Or as Woza Vega told me, you can't rape yourself your way into somebody's culture. I'm a descendant of those who fought. I'm a descendant of those who resisted. I'm a descendant of those who survived. I'm not a descendant of the conditions that they had to go through that. God damn it. He's not ADOS. We here lining each other up according to who's ADOS and who's not. Not according to who is Pan-African and who ain't, who is down with our liberation and who ain't, who is aligned with our with justice and who ain't. FBA, what the fuck does it make a fucking difference? Fucking John Henry Clark said half a century ago, the only difference between me and a black man in the Caribbean, a black man in Latin America, and a black man on the African continent, the only difference between all of us is a boat stop. It's a fucking boat stop. And even on the continent, Africans still bickering. We bickering with each other over arbitrary identities the white man imposed on us. How you gonna talk about reparations when even if the crackers gave you a fucking $1 billion, you still fucking ain't repaired? You're still fucking broken. Because we ain't broken because we don't have money. That's not why we're broke. We're not broken because we don't have resources. So cutting a fucking check will solve a lot of problems, but it will not unbreak you. Or as the young people say, money will not unlame you. Reparations will not uncoon the fucking ADOS and FBA movement. And the final thing I'm going to say on that, Bobby E. Wright said blood debts must be paid in blood, but I digress. I'm going to take a sip of the green tea and we're going to get back on topic. As I was saying, one of our chief obligations under a Kamala administration would be educating our community and keeping our community aware and sifting through the liberal rebranding of empire. We would also be able to work. We would have certain, like I said, I have no doubt that Kamala would have, kept drug prices, certain regulatory infrastructure, certain regulatory policies would be in place. There would be certain things that just aren't on the table. I don't think that the Democrats would be working where I haven't seen evidence that they're working to disenfranchise Black people because they get our votes irregardless when we do bother to vote. But under a Trump administration, it's the burden of educating and clarity is relieved. Because I can be sympathetic to someone not being clear about the problems of the DNC and the Democratic Party because their rhetoric and some of their policies, they do have a progressive wing within their party, the Progressive Democrats. They do have the Congressional Black Caucus. They give lip service. They do take actions on some positive things and they give lip service to some positive things where there is no illusions under the Republican. Now, within a revolutionary context, that lack of illusion, that lack of contradiction would be positive, but we're not in a revolution. We who are revolutionaries have failed to expand our ideology and agenda enough where we can say we're under revolutionary times. In fact, Pan-Africanism, revolutionary consciousness, revolutionary motivation is rescinding. We're rescinding. The conscious community is in retreat. The conscious community, because of people like Dr. Fubar, has very little standing and status. A lot of that has to do with how we've approached things. We've been very content to be in the I told you so camp. We're very good at analysis. The Black left, Black radical, Black revolutionaries. I'm reading these books coming out. We're very clear on what the fuck is wrong. We're even got some respectable, viable remedies for the problems. Where we fall down is consolidation and execution. The Black radical Pan-African left is very bad also at branding, marketing, counter propaganda, counter indoctrination. Too many of us feel like being right is enough. We value being right over fucking winning. So we stand up so proud of our vote for the Socialist Party, or so proud of our stupid ass vote for the Green Party, and we wag our fingers at Black Democrats and rag our finger at the Republicans, as we are poised to endure the same issues. As much as the left has fucked up, we don't seem willing to learn from our losses or learn from our mistakes. The fact that we had a neoliberal administration, and a neoliberal, the next logical step of capitalism, deregulated, globalistic, post-industrial, technocratic, neoliberal capitalism, the next logical step is fascist, right-wing, repressive, and open, overt racism. The fact that that next logical step happened is evidence of our failure. Now, too many Black folks are like, see, I knew it. Too many educated, intelligent Black folks are like, see, I told you Obama was just going to bring about this. I said it. Obama's going to pave the way for fascism. Fascism is capitalist immune system. Fascism is the capitalist immune system. Liberal capitalism, reform capitalism, regulatory capitalism gives birth to neoliberalism. Neoliberalism gives birth to fascism. It's a natural progression that has happened several times. They regulate, get people on board, give the working class some concessions, let them form a union, give them some Social Security. And then here come the capitalists slowly picking away and eroding those concessions won by the liberals and their radical allies, their leftist allies. And then when the outrage bubbles up, here comes the antibodies of capitalism, the brown shirts, the fascists, the boot-licking fucking right-wingers, the evangelicals, the Christians and the Islamicists, to protect our way of life. And it was our fucking job not to just sit there and lay out the progression. It was our fucking job to not just stop the regression. It was our fucking job to reverse, to go from capitalism, not to neoliberal capitalism, deregulated global, but to go from capitalism to revolution, and from revolution to decolonization, and decolonization to socialism, world socialism. But we're so content that, hey, we saw this coming. We saw the train wreck happening. And so fucking self-satisfied. And all these motherfuckers that were going hard in the paint against Kamala have gone. They're still talking about this. The Democrats. The Democrats are fucking a lame duck party. They've lost the executive. They're going to lose the fucking judicial unless something changes. They're going to be out of the judicial branch for another generation and a half. They lost the Congress, and we don't even know. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to turn this shit around in the midterm. And people are still, the Democrats, non-fucking factor. They, for some reason, just still haven't turned to Trump. They were attacking Kamala, even though Kamala was running at a deficit. There are pro-black, conscious, revolutionary people still want to talk about. I had black folks want to debate me because I said Trump is worse than Kamala, which is something I fucking would think is obvious. Trump is like 6'3". He's like my height, gross, 6'4" maybe. And if I say Trump is taller than Kamala, who the fuck would debate me? And I know these particular people were not simple-minded enough to understand that just because you say something is worse does not, in that comparison, does not mean the thing that is not is bad is good. You can say, well, these two things are both bad, but this one's worse. That is not a validation or endorsement of the other. But anyway, now we're dealing with overt fascism, overt racism, a active and deliberate erosion of what few concessions. We're dealing with new Jim Crow was initially advanced through the judicial system. So the process of implementing a new Jim Crow system was gone through the judicial system, incarceration and post-incarceration policy. Now, the new Jim Crow is moving from being intricately tied to the system of mass incarceration, but now it's in the academic system. It's in the academic, it's in the cultural sphere, it's in the civilian government, it's in the military. This is a fucking regression. Do you understand me? This is a loss for us. We're fucking losing. Yes, it is worse. It was bad. It was horrendous that the new Jim Crow system, which was a societal Jim Crow, a universal Jim Crow, was then reformed and locked into the legal system. And now they're breaking it back out. And some stupid motherfuckers who don't really read or comprehend our history in this country are celebrating a return to Jim Crow because of the sick mythology that black people, because we had some banks and some hotels and we had 70% two-parent households, that Jim Crow is a more ideal situation than the post-civil rights era. That we will be more productive, more conscious, more active under Jim Crow. People who've never read the book Without Sanctuary. And these stupid motherfuckers who say that Jim Crow is the better because we'll have to have our own. We'll have no choice but to open our own. Business in the United States is intimately tied to government. I know they tell you this bullshit about the free market. The free market is a mythology. And I literally said this in front of some rich folks, and not one of them flinched. Not one of them banged the table or said, hear ye, hear ye. I was around some rich folks. And I said, there's no such thing as a free market. People who made their fortune on the free market. And not one of them flinched. Not one of them fought me back. But I'll say there's no such thing as a free market in a room full of my peers, other poor black folks, and they want to fight with me. They want to argue me down. But I digress. It blows my mind. So anyway, we got black folks who think we all have our own business. But business is intimately tied with government. And when the government says you're not human, you have to be patriotic, you have to be Christian, you have to be heterosexual, and you have to be white. You don't get to go. You got your business, and you have to contract with other suppliers, hire men to work on your facilities, and they don't do proper work. They violate the contract, so you take them to court. Or you got your own farmland. You got your own farmland. And the fucking seed, Monsanto won't sell you fucking seeds, or they sell you these Terminator seeds, and you go to court with your contract from your black business or your contract from your black-owned farm, and you want that motherfucking MAGA judge to rule justly. Or you say black family under Jim Crow, 70% black family, and your woman's pregnant, and you taking her to a Jim Crow hospital. You have these kids, and you send them to a Jim Crow school. And on the way to their Jim Crow school, just like them crackers, some white boys want to have a good time. Your little 12-year-old daughter is going off to her all-black school while you go off to your black-owned business and your black community. And some white boys hop in a fucking Tesla truck. So let's go have some fun. Let's get our muster up and cruise on through the black community. And see your daughter going from her black neighborhood and her black-owned house with her black family under Jim Crow, walking to her black school. And y'all motherfuckers really think Jim Crow is preferable. Y'all disrespect the sacrifice and fight and the concessions. We lose the meager concessions that were won for us. And instead of building, instead of taking the baton and running faster, we took the baton and hit another black person in the head. So anyway, we have to fight. This is our motherfucking fight. It was our fight before. We've been fighting since before it was a word. We're not exempt from the fight. And unfortunately, white people's psychopathology, white people's dysfunction does not stay within white communities. White folks' nuclear waste and pollution and dioxin and mercury does not just go into white people's faucets. White people's deregulation of healthcare does not just impact white female rape victims. Do you understand? Anything that impacts us negatively, even if it's somebody else's fault, we are obligated to recognize, organize, and eliminate it. And we might have some strange fellows. We might even have to fucking link arms with the fucking liberals. I don't see why we don't or break bread with the anti-fascist. There is no such thing as permanent allies. There is only permanent interest. Dr. John Henry Clark told us. I'll say it again. There is no such thing as permanent allies. There is only permanent interest. A lot of black folks might be awakened by this Trump shit. And if you were awake before Trump, your job is not to point fingers and laugh at the people who took a Trump to wake the fuck up. Your job is to say, here's the infrastructure. Here's the organization. Here's the agenda. Here's the resources. Welcome home, brother. Welcome home, sister. This is what the movement requires of you, and this is what the movement has to offer you. You hold to the unity. These are the rewards. You violate the unity. These are the consequences. But we ain't got that. We talk about how the liberals fail. They deserve to fail. I talk about how the left fails. And you motherfuckers that sit there and say, I ain't left or right. I ain't on either side. First of all, if you're not left or right wing, then that makes you right wing automatically. Because if you don't claim any side of the political spectrum, that means you rest on the status quo. And the status quo right now is right wing. And right wing is Obama. Right wing is Kamala, the DNC. There are some progressives and maybe even leftists within the Democratic Party. I truly believe that the Democratic mayor of Chicago is an honest progressive. I know some people that work with him. I know some people who know him personally. But because he is a progressive within a ecosystem that is right. And so if you say, I ain't left or right, I'm an idiot, that makes you automatically over there, because you were in a communist, in a revolutionary, in an anti-colonial radical group, and you say, hey, I'm not left or right, and the status quo is left, then you're automatically a leftist. So I would tell all Black people, develop a leftist ideology, a leftist orientation, a leftist radical analysis, a leftist value system, a leftist agenda, leftist social theories, a leftist worldview, and stand on that 10 fucking toes down. Anti-imperialist, anti-white hegemony, anti-sexist, misogynist, anti-fucking capitalist. That's all leftists. Uncompromisingly. I did a whole show on the orientation where this whole left-right paradigm came from. That is the modern political system. And if we upend the entire political system and reset human civilization, then we can come up with a new one. But that's the one we're dealing with. And what my wife always tells her students, before you can transform something, you have to master it. She's all for her students using lingo and slang and using, colloquial type language, but she said you got to understand the rules of the language and the rules of citation and literature and all that shit, and then you can freak it and do it any way you want. Did I not say that? Anti-homophobic. I thought that wasn't on the list of the left. Oh. If I didn't say anti-homophobic, I apologize. Sodom and Gomorrah, no day I saw. Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah. Go back and read the Bible and why God really destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And the great hero of Sodom and Gomorrah offered his wife up, his children, his daughters up to be assaulted by the mob as to protect two angels who were powerful enough to protect themselves. Let me tell you, the good guys of Sodom and Gomorrah were the real villains, and the villains. So, but I digress. And we ain't even going to talk about the incest. God wasn't mad at the incest, like two consensual adults. Let me tell y'all something about y'all Bible. Now, I'm not going to let y'all get me off my square. Let's go with some Q&A. I think my point is here. And we could chop it up about, I'm even going to share the link so you can come on the live. You can leave questions in the comments if I don't get to them. This is a question I start. Thoughts about Kanye. Let me tell you something. Kanye. What bothers me? I got a lot of thoughts, but here's my biggest thing. I really get sick of all these Black folks in Chicago in Yeezys. I don't really care about the individual Kanye. I care about how the collective carries it. My mother suffers from severe mental illness. My mother suffers from severe mental illness, up to and including the fact that she lost custody of us and we had to be raised by my grandmother. She's been institutionalized several times, sometimes willingly, mostly unwilling, and to this day has not been able to overcome or consistently secure treatment. And I can tell you something else about my mother, besides suffering from a myriad of severe mental illnesses. My mother is one of the most pro-Black people. She named me Diallo. She gave me and my siblings either African names or African sounding names. No matter what my mother was going through, when we would see her, she would tell us how beautiful our skin is, never to be ashamed of who we are. And whenever she had brief windows of clarity, she would try to infuse as much Black consciousness and culture into us as she could. Her and my father supported the Panther movement in Kansas City under Pete O'Neill. My mother is pro-Black as fuck. Mental illness does not cause racial hatred, racial treason. and Kanye, and y'all blame it on his mother, who died from one of the most unnecessary deaths. But I talked about his mama enough. And the fact that we make excuses, because here's the problem with black folks, because my problem is not with Kanye. My problem is with the black community. My problem is the black community not only allows for Kanye's exist, but we endorse and support Kanye's. That's my motherfucking problem. So my problem with Kanye is that the fucking black community, that he demonstrates how hollow and shallow we are, how low our racial self-esteem is. Because if we are people that had dignity and racial collective esteem, Kanye would have no presence or no place among us. But I go outside tomorrow. I walk up to 47th Street. I head over to Hyde Park. And I see little black kids with Yeezys on. Black folks with Yeezys wearing them ugly ass shoes. And we don't want to accept that a successful black man could be a traitor, because we aspire to be billionaires. We aspire to have that fame. And so even though successful black folks been selling us out for 1,400 years, wealthy blacks, the black elites on the African continent that cooperated with the colonizers, cooperated with the enslavers, they were fly too. They had big money. The Negroes from Black Wall Street, those Black Wall Street black folks didn't give a shit about the poor black people that were all around them. Go read the real history of Black Wall Street. And all the black elites, wealthy black people, been selling us out and shitting on us for generations. And we don't want to accept that if he's wealthy, we want to claim he's ours. I'm not saying Kanye's not mad. I'm saying that is not the cause of his hatred of black people. And that does not justify his hatred of black people. And the main issue here is our failure to have any type of protocols or policies within our community and culture to deal with fucking traitors like him. So fuck Kanye West. And he should have no place or no peace amongst black people for the rest of his motherfucking life.
Uhuru BroDiallo. Yes, fuck Kanye West.
I think being a race traitor coon is a choice.
Yes, and on that note, I came on to ask you about that so-called hostility between Africans here in America and the Jews. What is that? That came up for me, when I was talking to, a not organized classmate, if you will, and I had no counter when they swore up and down that, the cause for all of Africans' problems was the Jews or something like that.
Wait. I think you're sliding a premise.
Oh, I am. I didn't mean to slide no. I
just saying
talk about why they be saying the Jews is the problem. Where the hell that dumb?
Oh, that came from white folks.
Okay.
It's called, literally, there's a term within European culture called Jew baiting. And Jew baiting goes all the way back to the founding of the Holy Roman Empire, the Roman Church. The white elites who would spend up all the money and run the economy and the society off a cliff. And then when the peasants would revolt, they'd say, well, the Jewish people are kidnapping and killing babies. And so just like we learned Christianity from our enslavers, we learned anti-Semitism from our enslavers.
Okay.
And a lot of black people cannot distinguish between Judaism and Zionism. And so we learned that Farrakhan, all of them, if you go back and read those books, Behold a Pale Horse, The Committee of 300, what's that other? The Invisible Hand. If you go back and read the right wing and the anti-Semitic literature, you'll find that many of our greatest black heroes basically took all of that rhetoric and through some black power rhetoric infused it with the right wing. So you know,
Just like we did with Christianity.
yes. So you'll find that we learned, and nativism, and all these these toxic isms. So much of Black anti-Semitism is a byproduct of being indoctrinated into Western society, and in particular being indoctrinated into Christianity.
Okay, so you know, when this comes up in conversation, right, maybe with one of your not organized or unprincipled, you know, community members, right, anybody that you in community with, what is how do you, you know, when they say literally it's the Jews, what do you, but you know, I said and it's not the Jews, it's colonialism,
It's the capitalist.
Okay, so
well, the problem is many of these Black people aspire to be capitalist. So they can't identify the capitalists at the problems. At the same time, they're asking the community to elevate them to the status of capitalists.
Right, because you can't do it without the community.
So they'll say, depending on the time in history, they say the Jews, the gays, the immigrants, they'll talk about any targeted or vulnerable population and blame them.
Whoa. And we did go through those phases, and they come back occasionally and stuff like that. Wow. And I'm guessing that of course depends on
it's the women, it's pregnant teens. I remember when I was young, babies having babies. All the problems in the Black community were caused by promiscuous young girls, and they were giving birth to children, and those children were going out to sell crack and gangbang. So number one, they can't. Most of these prominent Black figures can't identify the real problem because they are the fucking problem themselves. So I want to have power and money and status, and I don't want to upend the hierarchy in the system. I'm trying to elevate myself within the system.
Yes.
So anybody I identify or I want to target and have my followers target and attack have to be anyone other than those in true power. And hell, even if I don't want to, let's say I'm in an environment where anti-Semitism isn't tolerated, then I'll say they're reptiles. I'll say they're aliens or interdimensional creatures. But all those interdimensional creatures fall along a lot of stereotypes, either Black stereotypes, Asian stereotypes, or Jewish stereotypes. So it's a long hustle. It's scapegoating. Every demagogue, every hustler, every con man of every movement scapegoats.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for your time. I wanted to make sure I come on here and get, you know, if you in school, if you're watching my voice, if you're watching my beautiful baritone voice, which camera are we working with here? If you're watching my beautiful baritone voice on the Facebook or on the YouTubes or wherever BroDiallo be broadcasting, if you are a student, go on and join the Black is Back's Youth and Student Working Group. We need y'all. Today I went ahead and attended some meetings for our local transportation authority, and I knew it was reptiles. You know, they spending, not only are they gifting Orange County Sheriff $12 million every year, but they spending $77 million to put new lanes on the freeway over there by where the rich people live, instead of hiring more coach operators, which is what all of the bus drivers will tell you we need. So it's important that we learn how to get in here and establish leadership for, you know, being in our you know, municipal meetings and stuff like that. And so, BroDiallo, on that note, I wanted to talk to you about the importance of like having a script and having leadership and having a principle before you can talk about, oh, go to your local city council meetings, go to your local public transportation meetings, because even as as dynamic of a speaker as I am, which I, you know, got from my grandmama up at the church, you know, it was hard to go in there without a script. And I had already been doing a couple days of research. You know, I'd already been doing a couple days of research to, you know, talk, like go through the past agenda, go through the minutes for the meeting before that, see what it is they talking about on the agenda, how exactly you even go about making public comment and stuff like that. It was a experience, to say the least. But we need to join an organization and establish leadership for engaging the local municipalities. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that as I leave you, to do your broadcast. Uhuru, BroDiallo.
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, that is very important. I cut my organizing teeth with the National Black United Front, and they at one time took over the city council and the school board back to back, and made some very dynamic changes. And if you know anything about Kansas, about Missouri, or about the Midwest in general, it was a phenomenal accomplishment back in the 90s. And they would go and flood city council meetings, school board meetings, and they would always have a script, a line, and everything. And everybody would open up at those meetings, permission from the elders to speak, and permission granted. And they would go in and read the script, and it was very impactful. So yes, generally power goes to not the most well-armed group, not the wealthiest group, but the best organized group. So there is time to rant and rave and chant down Babylon, but there's also a time where organizational skills kills more devils than bullets. So let me just say that again. I love that fucking line. Organizational skills kills more devils than bullets. So I really appreciate that. That's something to add. Kanye is delusional. I don't think Kanye is delusional. And let me tell you my issue. If you really interact or been around a delusional person, they're very seldom not consistent. So if you find a delusional person, like when my mother was having one of her episodes, she's always talked about moving. And when she was going through some type of delusional episode, she would be like, we're leaving. And you'd have to pack up everything in the house. And she'd literally have us packing up our clothes, packing up the refrigerator. She would have us going through catalogs, selecting things we wanted when we moved into our little house. And we were living in the projects. And she would be talking about, we're moving to Atlanta, to this mansion. And that was one day. And then maybe a week later, she'd be like, we're staying here. And this is the most wonderful place to live, and this is our home, and we're not going anywhere. So what you find with someone having delusions, they're never consistent. They're all over the fucking place. You'll have somebody that says, oh, I love you and I can't live without you, and then the next day they'll be like, you're my worst enemy, you're trying to kill me. One thing you'll observe about Kanye going back more than a decade is the motherfucker's always been on a consistent line, and he's followed a consistent trajectory. From Black conservative, Christian nationalist to Nazi. Delusional people don't follow a consistent ideological line and progression. They go in many different directions, especially over time. And because Kanye is a public figure, we have a fucking public record of his progression. That is not a sign of delusion. That's a sign of deliberate progression. So stop making excuses for this motherfucker. Seriously. And what that really pisses me off, having worked in healthcare, having tended to people from a young age, having to accommodate and tend to and help support people with severe mental illness, is throwing that as his fucking escape hatch. Oh, he's sick since his mama died. Does a disservice to the many people who are truly suffering from mental illness. Stop it. In terms of, yeah, he's delusional, but from a diagnostic point of view, from a clinical point of view, no, that is not an excuse or an out. Roman, long time no hear from you. I thought you broke up with me.
Nah, I've been watching you, man. I truthfully, I watch your like shit all the time because it keeps me sane.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm well. I'm doing too good. I'm guilty. I'm doing too good. I'm balling too hard, really. I need to calm down.
Watch out.
I need to back it up a bit.
You got the
I'm living too lavish. So I'm living two laps. So yeah, I'm doing more than well, man. I'm gonna have to slow it down for y'all to catch up.
I'm glad, man. I'm really glad. I just have a quick question. I just bought Amos Wilson's Blueprint for Black Power.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Yeah. And it's
you got a copy of the scriptures.
I do, yeah.
Glory.
I'm not at home right now. I'd show you though, because it's a long ass book. And yeah. So I just wanted to ask, like, since we're in a pretty volatile time, what are some key takeaways that I could take from this book? Because I just started. I'm on like page 14.
And you want spoilers?
I do. It's a pretty lengthy book. And I just want to not rush it.
First of
but
all,
I want to know, like, what's the best I could take from it that I can use, going forward in this climate.
Okay, he talks about how to build power and function as a nation within a nation, having our own independent networks. Whenever a society is in a state of collapse or contraction or persecution, the populations that best endure it are not the ones with the most guns or the ones but the populations that have the strongest communal ties. So as coming together and truly securing power, even up to and including asymmetrical warfare. So that's probably the best thing, because whatever you do, we have to do it as a collective. And he also said, and this is my own wording of it, because like you said, it's a fucking hefty book, but, start where you are and work with what you got. A lot of times we aspire to things so far beyond us that we neglect to cultivate what's right in our hand, because we get fixated on what we lack. We need to go get a bank. We need to go stockpile weapons, when there are resources and advantages available to you right in your hand. But because you pretty much interact or engage with those things every day, all the time, you don't even recognize them as assets. How to organize it. So I'll do that, because I got some people piling up. But man, go. It's a pretty fluid book. Like, you can just read through it. It's not my favorite book by Amos Wilson. I think, especially for this time, the best book for that is The Falsification of African Consciousness.
I was going to buy that, but I thought this one would be
that's probably your best bet. But I'll give you those two takeaways, because I got a couple of people waiting. So, but I appreciate you, and I'm glad you got the book, and come back and share with us what your takeaways are.
I will. And thank you for shitting on ADOS FBA, because this is really, they suck. They really do suck.
Yeah, fuck them motherfuckers. All right. Appreciate you. Peace. Tizo.
Diallo, what's up, man?
What's up, bro?
I almost got into a fight with a MAGA guy the other night at Magic City, man. I gotta go straighten that out.
Yeah, shout out to that two-piece that one MAGA clown. Woo,
yeah. So I'm just going to. I just want to give you just a quick point. I agree with you on some things, but I just only thing I disagree with is about Obama and Kamala Harris. I think the problem that we're not addressing about Obama is that he made the biggest mistake of his life, thinking he was going to change something, and we made the decision of thinking he could change. All he could do was just hold the line for a little while, because most of the stuff that he did terrible is, like you guys pointed out, is overseas, but that's by design. Once you become the president of the United States, that stuff about you stopping nuclear war and stopping attacks on stopping the war in the Middle East and all that was never going to happen, because the military industrial complex and Wall Street, all those guys in that little pool in even the oil industry, they are perpetual war, forever war. They're not going to ever stop it. And the presidency, JFK was the last president to try to stop the genocide in Palestine and stop Israel from getting a nuclear weapon. And we saw what happened to him. And now the story is coming out that the mob and the CIA, they had something to do with it. But Donald Trump is never going to acknowledge that. He's full of crap. He's withholding all the stuff. All he did was release people's social security numbers in the last batch of stuff that he released in JFK assassination.
You're right that we disagree about Obama. First of all, Obama's political mentor, Zbigniew Brzezinski.
Exactly. Yes, I know. Yeah.
Obama was always Obama.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not saying he was always Obama.
I said is a center right ideology. Yes. If you go back to his days at Harvard, he was a black conservative. If you look at his time as a senator, as a state senator and a member of the House of Representatives, Obama, if you go read his book, Obamonomics, which Dr. Linwood
he was with Reagan. He agreed with Reagan. He agreed with Reaganomics.
Dr. Linwood Tauheed,
that happened.
UMKC gave me his personal copy of Obamonomics. Obama did not change once he became president. Obama did not run for president with the intention of doing anything but entrenching and advancing the Clintonite, That's true. And then there's the financial wing of the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Committee, which is responsible of taking the Democrats from being an actual liberal party to being becoming neoliberal party.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point I agree with you on. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So Obama never had good intentions. Never. He was never the good fucking guy. He was marketable. He didn't get there because he was extremely fucking marketable. And what we forget is just how fucked up George W. Bush it was. Because now George Bush is spoon feeding and hand feeding Michelle Obama candies.
Yeah, I saw that.
all grinding up on him. We think, hey, Bush must have been a good. We forgot.
No, I didn't. I know.
Millions of people that Bush killed, the depleted uranium contamination.
My brother, yes.
Subcontinent. Hold on, let me finish. And so the problem was, and let me tell you, Obama destroyed the greatest progressive movement this country was able to forge since the end of the civil rights movement. The Occupy movement, the color revolutions, was one of the biggest progressive movements. And it was growing and growing. And Obama illegally coordinated with federal police agency, U.S. military, and local policing to rout out and kill that movement in its cradle. Obama, this myth that Obama came to do good or tried to do good, Obama did. Healthcare, the capitalist for-profit healthcare was under threat. And Obama said, I can save this, but we got to throw him a bone. Obama was nothing more. What Dale Jones called that is loosening up to get a tighter grip. That's what it is. It was loosening up to get a tighter grip. The way Obama governed, Trump was an inevitable. Trump was an inevitable by outcome for Obama's policies. And all that aside is his entire staff and cabinet was handpicked by the Clinton and the Clinton Foundation.
Right. I know that part. And no, I was talking about overseas. My thing is that we're not looking at the federal war.
International war criminal on top of that.
All of them. No, all of them are. All of them are.
We're talking about Obama right now. And Obama. Let me tell you something right now. If your brother stabbed you in the back, wouldn't that be worse than a stranger?
Yes, you're right.
If you came home and saw a brother rifling through your house, stealing your shit, that wouldn't break your heart than having some white man rifling through your house, stealing your shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Obama's worse because he should know goddamn better.
Yeah, he should have known better. And one other thing I want to point out is that what we need to really look at is that this system is inevitably going to collapse, regardless. It would have been a little bit better upon a Kamala, but now that Trump is in there, the inevitability is already baked in. The black MAGAs are celebrating high food prices. The stock is crashing. I'm trying to figure out why they think they're going to get money from the stock market. The $5,000 check they've been lying about.
Here's the problem. You're right, but as the system is collapsing, so is the ecosystem.
Yes, sir. That's what I was getting to.
So we can't just allow it to collapse. We have to dismantle it. Right. And make sure when it falls to the left and not to the right. So just because you can't just sit back and say, well, it's collapsing.
No. I agree with you 100%. That's my point.
That is collapsing. That is irresponsible.
That's irresponsible. That's what I was saying. And my thing is this. I think the next move is from my military standpoint, from what I've been seeing, the movement that's going on, he will attack Iran. He's going to try to take Greenland. And by that, I heard them. I remember you made the comment. You said it yourself about nuclear. Everybody worried about a nuclear strike. I'm like, Jesus, we already got oil problems. I mean, the oil industry is destroying the environment way more worse than a nuclear strike would. And
and you're on point, but you can't say they're going to do something. They have been attacking Iran. They've been bombing Iran.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about a full scale. He's talking about a full scale attack. He's been bombing. He's talking about Tehran.
They're not going to do a full scale attack because one thing about the United States and its allies, they don't attack people who can fight back. So if you go and read Economic Hitman,
yeah, I read it.
They didn't invade Iraq until they knew. That they could
attack. But the problem I'm trying to break to you. Yeah, I know. They're cowards. I was in the military. I know how they are. Listen, what I was going to say before I get off, what I'm saying to you is that the reason why I'm saying they're desperate right now, he put the tariffs on all those countries. He's putting tariffs on countries that don't have nothing but penguins there. So the tariff is always an indication of war.
Go on.
Yeah, it's theatric, right? Because remember they put the tariffs on Japan, even though Japan was a racist piece of shit country that sided with Hitler. At that time, Japan was a big economic trade and import of goods to America. But in 1941, in the 1940s, they had put those tariffs on them, and that's what started the conflict. Because what they do is try to bait you into attacking them, and that's what Japan did. That was their biggest mistake. They baited them. What they should have did was just kept on attacking, but they didn't. Japan stopped at Pearl Harbor, and that was the whole thing. They knew it was going to happen. They knew this attack was imminent.
I have to stop you there. We way over time. I appreciate you.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Hey, we'll get together and talk again.
All right, bro. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay, Kai, you got 1 minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we got 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're clear. Question, comment, criticism.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on Frantz Fanon's Black Skin, White Mask. What do you think about his views on colonialism and such?
I agree with him wholeheartedly. Okay. That was easy.
All right. Well, you have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Oh, that was a good one. All right. That's a good way to end it. I appreciate y'all. We went a little over. Like, share, subscribe, support the show, man. Y'all really, got a brother over here. I don't know what. I'm passing the digital hat around. Don't make me close the digital doors until y'all start supporting again. Close the doors. Ushers, close the doors. Come on. Patreon, CashApp, Venmo. Help a brother out, man. If you enjoy the BroDiallo broadcast, don't do me like this. I know it sounds strange coming from a man flexing his wealth, and then after I flex my wealth, I come and ask y'all for support. But that's how the world works. Until next time, I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Also, subscribe, like, and all that shit, and then go on over to African World Order and do the same. Shout out to OK Africa. Shout out to Sheung. Big things are going on. Coming soon. Peace.